This is a special Big Fat American podcast because generally what we'll do is we'll have all of these rock and roll greats from days gone by and current rockers on as special guests, but we deviate, we take a different path. Something that I love to talk about, a lot of people don't realize this. I love Broadway. In fact, I've seen more Broadway shows than if you judge a book by its covers, you're thinking, no, he's seen more bars and bar shows and floors after going to the bar than anybody. But no, I truly do love Broadway. I think as far as entertainers go, Broadway actors and actresses to me are a step and a cut above the rest. And I'll tell you why, Donnie Kehr. It's because you have to be physical, you have to be mentally strong, you have to be able to act, and you have to be able to sing. So everybody on Broadway is a triple threat.
Yes.
And I'm intrigued by that. And I do know that you can't have an off night. If you have an off night, because people are paying a lot of money, especially in the orchestra section up front. If you, I don't care if you're Bette Midler, and if you have a couple of bad shows, they will kick you out of the lineup very fast.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. You got to be on your game. It's like playing in the majors. If it was baseball and you went out in the major leagues, yeah. So maybe you miss a hit there, miss a hit there. That's different. But on Broadway, when you're an actor and a dancer and a singer and you're out there doing a show, you got to be 100% on your game because people do pay a lot of money to be there. And you want to, plus it's your pride. You want to give a good show. Everybody who's in there has been training and working really hard to get there. So they all want it, which
Right.
is wonderful. And it's exciting thing to be able to work with a group of people and you're all on stage doing the same, dancing the same steps. It's very inspiring. It lifts you up totally. It's a totally cool experience to share in an ensemble of people that become a family to you. And it's great. Yeah,
I
we
can
work
only
hard.
imagine. So your resume includes Tommy, the musical rock opera, really,
Hmm. Yes,
Billy Elliot,
yes,
Aida,
yes,
Jersey Boys, and
yes.
probably a few that I'm just overlooking. So why don't you give us a little bit of your, I would say, rock and
Resume.
roll resume? Yes, your Broadway resume.
Okay. Well, for my Broadway shows, I started when I did my first Broadway show when I was 12. It was a play called Legend with Elizabeth Ashley and F. Murray Abraham. And I came in as an understudy, and then I got to do the role. And it was my first experience doing theater. And then I went on to do a show called The Human Comedy for Joseph Papp. Um, and Wilfred Leach was the director. That was back in 1984. And let's see, after that, I did The Mystery of Edwin Drood. Created a role in that show. That was great. Then I did Tommy. Then what did I do? I did some touring, a lot of touring. I did West Side Story on tour. I toured with George M. with Joel Gray. Oh, God. I can't even remember all of them. I'm too old.
Yeah,
I did tour a lot, but as far as Broadway original casts, it would be Legend, The Human Comedy, Mystery of Edwin Drood, um, The Who's Tommy, Jersey Boys, Billy Elliot.
okay, and then people will Google it later on to find
Oh
out
yeah,
more about you. You know how that goes.
Google me.
They'll Google it, and let's just pretend we're on Facebook, and
Okay.
and you make Donnie Kehr, and I'm doing such and such. You can catch my new series on Netflix, which we'll talk
Right.
about in a little bit,
Okay.
Inventing Anna. So check out the next episode of Inventing Anna. Hi, I'm Donnie Kehr. And in the comment section below, you might get engaged in a discussion, and that person will automatically become an expert on you because they
Ooh,
Googled it.
that's
And
right.
if you correct them, no, that's wrong. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I'm the
It's
guy that you're writing about. I'm telling you what the truth is. You must have forgotten, sir. And you start you start a Facebook war.
Sure, sure. I guess. Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing now, yes, what's happening is if you went on Facebook, you'll see I just got a little write up in the Daily News for Richard Johnson's column, and it was very nice. And he was talking about, because I shot it right before COVID, and this is this show that's out there now called Inventing Anna, and I shot it right before COVID, and it came out. I had totally forgotten about it, and I didn't remember it, and then when it came out, David called me and said, "Hey, you're going to be on tomorrow." I'm like, "Whoa, okay." So then I watched it, and I was like, "This is great." And then it boomed. I think it was the #1 Netflix series out there for a minute. So I hope it still is, but it was great fun to do. I play a detective. I'm in episode 7, and it took 2 days. What I thought took 2 days actually took 1 day. The other day was costume fitting, but then I went and shot it in 1 day, and it took about 3-4 hours, different lighting, close-ups, wide shot, all that stuff. And then we shot it pretty quickly. And it was fun. It was a hoot. And I liked where they put it in the series, because it kind of has a sense of humor to it, which is what I like. It's not drama. I'm like this girl's telling me how she went on a vacay with some friends, and one of her friends, build up $50,000 on her credit card. And I'm like, well, a piece of advice I say in the show, piece of advice, start a GoFundMe account and maybe pick better friends. Because like, what are you going to do? You did it. But,
well, yeah, I mean, I kind of, I'm with you on the sense of humor part. I don't think people realize how hard it is to actually be in any sort of television program or made for Netflix.
Right.
The amount of scenes that you have to do, I know as an audio guy on the radio,
right.
that would annoy me.
Oh.
It's worse when you do voiceovers and you keep getting cut. But the line was perfect. They'd make you do it 10, 20 times. And then in the end, they automatically pick the third cut, usually 9 times out of 10, or the first cut. And then you really get annoyed when you hear it back. Like, really? You made me do 50 takes and you got the first one? Right.
Right. That's right.
So,
and that's usually because the client is going, well, I think we should try it this way and try it that way. When really the first 2 or 3 takes came out were organically perfect,
Exactly. Yes. That the original emotion that you emote, so to speak, is usually the most organic.
Yes.
When you are on stage,
Yes.
and you're on Broadway and you're doing whatever it is, you're acting and dancing and singing, whatever it might be. What are some of the tricks to the younger listeners of how you hit the mark each and every time, or what makes you so consistent when you're on stage?
It's a good question. You learn to hit your mark, and you've rehearsed it for a month with everybody. You've been working on these same numbers and the same choreography, all the stuff. They're just getting the timing of the show together. So you find your comfort zone, because then you're dancing between and next to the same people and rehearsing with them. So you find your spacing. Also, the choreographer and the director will find your spacing for you. They'll say, oh, let's pull this group a little farther to the left. So you take 2 steps to the left and you do it there. But you find your numbers. Now here's, I guess when I say know your numbers is that during rehearsal we usually have it's a numbered stage count, which is, you can say, if you go, all right, let's say we have a group of people and you want to space them out so that from the front you can see them all instead of just seeing some of them with people behind them. So they space them out so that, okay, one person is on +2, which is to the right, +2, and then another one on 4, and then another one on 6. But then the ones in the back are going to be on 3 and 5. So there's windows. Mm-hmm. So it's very cool that way. I mean, you get used to working with your peers and finding your spacing. And sometimes it doesn't always work. Sometimes there's somebody has a mishap, but it happens. It's theater.
Well,
But
I saw Rockette fall down, but she got right back up, and not too many people noticed.
that's it. That's all
Right?
you can do. Okay, boom, get up. That's it. If you fall down, you got to get up. Same thing.
Right. Same thing on the radio. Once you make a mistake, you don't dwell on it. Don't
That's
mention
right.
it. You just keep going like you meant for that to happen.
That's right.
That's all. And if you
Exactly.
have to, there's been times I've talked myself out of it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. And then I go into what I call, well, I'm just going to go on a tangent circle. And then I bring up stuff that has nothing to do with the original start of the conversation. And then I
Sure.
wrap it up, and everybody's like, what the hell did I just hear? But that
It's
was
called the
brilliant. It was
Great
funny.
Distraction.
Yes.
I was
Yes.
going to say, in regards to Broadway, there's in any theater, and I wouldn't just say this to a Broadway audience or for the fact of doing a Broadway show. I've done like before we took Tommy and Jersey Boys to Broadway, we did it at a place called La Jolla Playhouse in San Diego, and we rehearsed there and we developed the show there before we brought it to Broadway. So we developed it there, and then we were playing to an audience of 500 seats in La Jolla. But I had the same, no matter what, if you're in New York City on Broadway, that's huge and fantastic. But you get the same, if you're a true performer, you get a feeling that you still get the same feeling and the same energy of performing in a small theater than you do as a big theater. It's the same,
Yeah.
it's the same, you have the same energy that you did then that you do now. Even if I was in La Jolla doing the show, or if I was in New York doing the show, I had the same amount of energy. And here's the deal to any new performer in theater: learn the most important thing is to learn to pace yourself. Because a lot of people will go, okay, I got to hit it on this one number really hard, right? But you're supposed to hit it hard on every number. So if you hit one number hard, you hit the next one a little not as good, or not as with as much courage, then that lacks. So you've got to keep that energy straight up, but make sure you do your breathing, make sure you pace yourself so you're not
Right.
like, losing your breath
Right.
when you have to say a line or something. It's a lot of change. It's a very quick thing to do, because I remember in Jersey Boys, I had to do, I think I had like 16 quick changes in the first act, because I was playing 8 different characters. And yeah, it was like I'd be a bartender 1 second, 2 seconds later I was in the band playing guitar, because I'm also a musician. So that's the thing. Is that what's been interesting is that for Jersey Boys, I played guitar, drums, and just guitar and drums. And then there was a lot of stuff in the early days of Frankie Valli. I was Joe Long, and it was like I was all the other seasons before the seasons.
That's cool.
But I played guitar and drums in that, and then I also played accordion in Billy Elliot. And so it was fun. I mean, including an instrument when you're doing theater, I love playing an instrument live, and you're actually playing it. It's kind of cool doing it, rather, because usually the orchestra plays that and you don't have to think about it. But adding that element, it's almost like having a prop, and then you actually play it, and it's in time with the orchestra, and you're doing your thing. It's pretty cool feeling to do that. It's
Okay.
different
That
element.
that brings up this question.
Okay.
I know on Broadway specifically, there's a union for everything.
Yep.
How does that work when you're playing a musician's role up on the stage? Do you have to be in both unions, or they're
Yes.
like, well, okay,
No.
good question,
You
right?
got to be in both. Yeah, it's actually a great thing, because I remember when we did Jersey Boys, because I was playing more than one instrument in the show. Throughout the show, I had the musicians union had to come and see if I could really do it. So they came to the rehearsal, and I played drums and I played guitar for them, and they were like, "Okay, you can do it." So I got in the musicians union, and that was pretty cool. Then when I did Billy Elliot, they asked me if I would play accordion in the song, and then I said, "Well, I'm in the union now," and they said, "Oh, okay, well, we'll cover that." So it was very nice. It was a good way. But here's the thing: is it is an extra little bump to be able to be a musician as well and play the instruments, but it's also, you have to pick one union to go with. Either you're going to be hired as an actors equity person,
Right.
or you're going to be hired as an 802 musicians union. Okay. So because I've been with actors equity since I was a child, I just picked that and stayed, because I was mainly an actor in the show, but I happened to play instruments. So I got a little bit of both, but it was good that I got to join 802. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
Not too many people can say that. Now, there's something else I want to bring up about the actors and actresses. I guess nowadays everybody's just called an actress, or an actor.
I think everybody calls them an actor.
Actor,
yeah.
Right? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Which is fine. But I've been hearing on more than a few occasions. It turns out I've done work with Actors Equity for a while, usually for helping with HIV and AIDS kind of things, and
like
housing
Broadway
issues.
Cares.
Broadway Cares. I'm a member of SAG-AFTRA as well.
Great.
So I've observed this, and I hear this a lot of times. Well, I can dance, I can sing, I'm very talented, and I'm not going to get my break because I don't look like I fit the part, or I'm too short, I'm too tall, I'm too big, I'm too small. So I have this great idea. This is what I'd like to do. I was just thinking about this because I really feel bad for people who really have the talent, but because of the limitation of height or whatever it is,
right,
they don't get parts, they don't get the chance. So I want to create a play or a musical called Irregular, and where everybody from any sizes, shapes, or whatever background can potentially, as long as they have the talent, participate and live that dream on the stage. And there's probably a story that every unique individual can share that helps write the play, that makes it different every time you go and see it.
Right. That's a casting question, actually, because think about it. I mean, like, I do believe that actors should act, and I think there's fairness in, for instance, if there's a person who is disabled, giving the disabled actor the shot is great. And I think it's very important that everybody respect that. On the other hand, you look at like a performance like Daniel Day-Lewis in My Left Foot. Okay, he's an actor. He's not disabled, but he acted in it and he did a brilliant job. I think he won an Academy Award for it. But he's not really a quadriplegic. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
that's fair enough. I mean, I don't think there should be any limits. In other words,
I agree.
Right. So if I can play a deaf person, which is easy for me, because I really,
what was that?
Exactly. I tune people out. They can go that all I hear is the Peanuts, that voice, wah, 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 and I pretend like I'm listening, and I'm like Peter Griffin. There's something else going in my head at the same time, right? Okay. So back to some of your works. Okay. You did something with Clint Eastwood. What was that? And who are some of the people that were involved in that project?
Okay, so I did the movie of Jersey Boys, and Clint Eastwood directed it. It was we shot it at Warner Brothers in Los Angeles, and it was a great ride. It was very fun, very different from the theater, but it was because you're shooting a movie where there's no audience, so it's a different take. Also, I did learn a lot of things from my co-stars and my and Clint. He gave me a lot of great pointers for film acting. It's a different thing. It's a different medium, of course, doing between film and theater. My co-star for that was Christopher Walken, and he was my cohort. We were both gangsters in that. And so I was on set, and I remember the first day I was working with Christopher Walken, I was celebrating a birthday. And I said to Clint, Clint, thank you so much for this gift. It's my birthday today, and I get to work with Christopher Walken. How cool. Thank you. And he goes, how old are you? And I said, I'm 50. And I said, I just turned 50. I said, I'm getting old. And he took a second and he looked at me and he said, don't let the old man in. And he walked away. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me since. I mean, it's true. Whenever you got a birthday, don't think of it as getting older. Just don't let that in, you know. Just live your life, be happy. But then I started working with Chris Walken on this one scene. It's called The Sit Down. And Chris had never seen the show. He didn't know really much about it. But he knew his lines. He became very prepared. But I remember when we were in the waiting room in between, and this went on for 3 days. The first day I didn't bother him. Second day I was agitated, but I didn't bother him. But what happened was in between each time we'd do a take, he would go back him and I would be in this little room off the side, just him and I. And he would sit there and he would cross his legs, close his eyes, like he was taking a nap. And I remember this was in between each take, which were like 10 minutes, and then we get 10 minutes off, then we go back in for 10 minutes. It was like boom, 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 boom. But he'd go in there and he'd close his eyes and he'd cross his legs. And I remember saying after the first day, I was like, I don't want to bother Chris Walken. And if he doesn't want to talk, okay. Then the second day, I introduced myself and I was trying to open the door to talk to him. Still not much. And I saw him close his eyes, so I thought he wanted to be left alone. The third day, I said, all right, Chris, what's up, man? Why do you close your eyes every time I feel like I can't say it? He goes, oh, you can talk to me. I said, okay. What's the deal with the closing of the eyes in between each thing? He goes, let me explain something. You're a theater guy. Your proscenium is 30 to 40 feet wide. So you have all of your physical stuff to do to get your point across. In film and in television, you have inches. Your face is going to be 30 feet big if it's close up. The first thing to get tired are your eyes. So rest your eyes.
That makes sense.
I thought, well, there you go. It's pretty good. He said, on a long day shoot, you want your eyes to match by the end of the day. So make sure you save that energy so your eyes don't get tired. And I thought, that's very smart. So thank you, Chris Walken.
Now, when you were working with Clint Eastwood,
Mm-hmm.
I guess Dirty Harry was going on. Come on, make my day.
Oh, yeah. Let me tell you what's wild is that the first day I was on set, I was getting some coffee at the truck they have on set. And I went over there, I said, no coffee. And then I'm putting my milk and sugar in there. And then suddenly I hear, Donnie. And I turned around and it was Clint Eastwood. And I said, oh, hi, Mr. Eastwood. He goes, first of all, don't call me Mr. Eastwood. Exactly. He said, call me Clint. I said, okay, Clint, thank you. And he says, I'm glad you're here and let's have a good day. I said, great. So he was such a pro. You know, you got to really come prepared because he only gives any actors like 2 or 3 takes, and then he moves on. So you got to really come with your A game. And I was ready for that. I'd heard that about the way he works. And so I did come prepared. But it's funny, the role that Christopher Walken played in the movie is a role that I created when we were in La Jolla. I played Gyp DeCarlo, who Chris Walken played in the movie. So, and I remember he asked me, he said, he goes, oh, you originated this role. And I said, yeah. He said, any thoughts about, like, I don't really, was he a real guy? And I said, oh yeah, he was a real guy. I said, you're doing great. I didn't have any notes to give to Christopher Walken. No, he was great.
I would say that here's where something Clint and I have in common. I'm Mr. 1 or 2 takes. I'm like Jackie Gleason. I just,
all right.
Let's just get it going.
I'll give you one more little thing that happened when we were shooting this one scene, which was the biggest scene. Chris Walken was getting used to the scene of us because we were all in the same room with the 4 guys and me and Chris, and here we are going, and we've all done the show, so we were on our line, boom, boom, and then suddenly it would get to Chris, and he would stop, and he'd be like, "Okay, one more," and so he had he had to get in our timing, in our zone. And I remember after the fourth take, he said, "Okay, Clint, can we please just shoot one more?" And this is 5 takes now. That's big. You don't ask Clint for more than that. So he goes, "Okay." He goes, Clint says, "Okay, Chris, yeah, we'll do another one. But this time, can you give me a little more cowbell?"
Oh yeah.
He did. He actually said that.
Listen,
so funny.
To this day, I'm friends with Eric Bloom.
Okay.
He's with Blue Oyster Cult. And I mean, we're very close friends. And every time I interview him, I go, I have to ask you about the cowbell because there's always somebody who's heard it for the very first time.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Bruce Dickinson, when they do that bit, is not the
Yeah.
Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. It was Bruce Dickinson who was at the studio, one of the producers on the album.
Oh,
So
okay.
people always get that confused, and
I see.
you gotta like sort of like, hey, you got the personnel, and then Eric goes, I was never that fat, and he told me, I go, so where were you when this more cowbell thing happened?
Yeah.
Well, I was sitting on the couch, and I just happened to be watching Saturday Night Live that night, and I saw them do this bit, and I thought, oh my God. Either my career is just over or this is the best thing to happen to us.
Ever.
Turned out to be, yes, best thing that happened to him.
Classic.
And soon after, they're playing a show. It might have been Sturgis. I don't remember what the outdoor show was. And so they're playing Don't Fear the Reaper. And all of a sudden, this large woman gets up on stage and she starts with the cowbell. And they're all looking at each other like, what the hell is going on? It was a radio promotion where you got to win the chance to be up on the stage with Blue Oyster Cult.
Cowbell. Perfect. Dude, I would have loved to have won that.
I think it's great that nobody in management told the band and they just let it happen organically.
Oh,
that's the best part.
Because they were like, what's happening?
Yeah. And I do believe that there's certain things that Blue Oyster Cult did with their staging that was the inspiration for Spinal Tap. Remember when they had this small Stonehenge?
Yes.
Too small.
Yes.
I think that was another thing that was influenced by Blue Oyster Cult somehow, some way. It's just one of those oddball things that I just happen to know about because I end up friends with
wild.
Bloom,
That was so brilliant. That one and when they have the cocoons and the guy, he can't get out of the
Oh yeah, that is funny, and that reminds you of Pet Detective when Jim Carrey's coming out the back of the rhino, and it's just that kind of humor, just like, I can't get over that kind of stuff. It's just really
it makes me laugh.
It really does. So let's try to get back on track. So you worked with Walken, you worked with Clint Eastwood, you have Inventing Annie, and then I do also what's that?
Inventing Anna.
Oh, what did I say? Oh, I must have been
Inventing Annie.
The Broadway creeps in, Inventing Anna.
So it'll come out tomorrow.
Yeah. And then the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that.
That's right.
Now, you used to do, and I want to be part of this, Rockers on Broadway. Over the past couple of years. Yeah, I think I'd be I'm a radio guy, right? So you can't have a better guy on say, if you Google me, people, you'll find out that I've interviewed Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, every member of Led Zeppelin, some Rolling Stones along the way. I mean, a really amazing career. There's stuff, Donnie, that I've actually forgotten that I've done. And then I'll interview like a guy like Denny Somack. He goes, don't you remember that? You were there, Zach. You did the interview. I'll go, oh, I was? Oh, okay.
All right, I have a question. We did have a one radio announcer host the show about 10 years ago. You remember, Cousin Brucey?
Oh, Cousin Brucey, yes.
Yeah, Cousin Brucey. He came and announced the show. We gave him a mic and a table, and he was awesome. Such a nice guy. He was great.
He's a wonderful guy. I think he does now. He's on 77 ABC, where he started long ago on Saturdays and Sundays or something like that. So he's still
right. He's kicking, man. He's got to be 90, but I love him.
Yeah, he's almost 90. Now I worked with Scott Muni and Dan Ingram, and then for a while I was on CBS FM, 101.1 CBS FM.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow,
But
man.
they usually fire me for most of my gigs. I don't know why.
Why? What happened?
Yeah.
What? They don't see
Yeah.
these good.
I'm gonna tell you something about me, and I'll share this.
Oh,
I am not the type of person to stab anybody in the back. I won't play golf with the general manager to make them like me. I won't play
then
those
you're fucked.
politics. I won't write, under fictitious names about myself how great I am. I figure, and this is what I learned from Scott Muni,
Oh,
it's like, no, you want to get the job because you're the best one for it. That's
right.
why you want the job. If it's any other reason that you get the gig, to me, it doesn't count. You never really got it. Is it, in other words, your right
Interesting.
friend gave you, so I won't play that. I rather go without and be what everybody considers a failure
Yeah.
than to say that I was successful, but yeah, not really.
Like
Every
you didn't
job
earn it. Yeah.
that's right. I earned it. Every job I gotten on the radio was because I sent my tape and it was the best tape of the bunch. So
Zach, did I tell you anything? Did I tell you yet that you rock, dude? You
thanks.
rock.
To this day, that's why I'm broke. But
Yeah, but you got the heart, man. That's all that matters.
you have to live in your integrity. So, back to Rockers on Broadway. Tell us
Yes.
what this is about.
So it is a benefit that I started back in 1993. It was based on an idea. At the time, I was doing the Who's Tommy, and it was based on an idea of Pete Townshend, who asked me to put together the band and put the show together, and he would come and join us for a gig. And so we did it. I talked to my buddies over at China Club, and we arranged it and made it happen. And it was cool because it was something we had never experienced before, which was here we are singing Pete Townshend music, and then Pete Townshend joins us and starts playing. It's one thing when you sing Pinball Wizard with an orchestra, and it's amazing. I mean, phenomenal. Doing the show was amazing, but there was this moment that sort of, and it was Des McAnuff's side. He was the one who kind of helped put it together. And so we did this thing, and it was great. And what it was is it gave me a chance. It opened my eyes because, as I was saying, it was one thing singing the show live on stage with the band and with the orchestra and doing it. But it was another thing when suddenly I looked next to me, 5 feet away from me, there was the man who wrote it, Pete Townshend, who's sitting there playing the intro for Tommy. And I'm like, wait a minute, for this next 5 minutes, I'm going to be Roger Daltrey. So I got to sing Pinball with him playing next to me. And it really was a wonderful, inspiring awe moment of my life. It really was like a wow moment because it took me to another level as far as, and the reason why he wanted to do it was to give Broadway performers the understanding of the energy that he's from, the rock and roll energy that he wanted to bring to the stage. He wanted people to understand that and have it. So he asked me to put together this thing, and we did it. And I realized when I did it, I went, this is a blessing that I had the opportunity to do that. So I decided that I would start this and do this every year, and I would have a rock star come and join us and have one of our Broadway people sing with them, and also honor them. So I did, and we've been raising money for arts education for a lot of years now. But I started a company called the Path Fund, which stands for Performing Artists That Help. And we donate through that company. We are able to donate funds to arts educational programs that are really good, that help, that need it, but they're very good at what they do, which is wonderful. One of our scholarship students, I'd say about 17 students that we've given scholarships to and funds to their schools have gotten onto Broadway. So now there's kids that I helped get up in the world that are now working on Broadway. So it's been a very good thing.
I get it. You can't really put it in words. I understand that. It's a
I
beautiful
can only
thing.
just tell you that it makes me feel good to be able to help and see these kids find their artistic path.
Well, here's what we're going to do. I have Sophia's Mission, and Sophia's Mission is an organization that creates job opportunities for people on the autistic spectrum and with additional needs.
Lovely.
The main jobs that we created were those in which people can stay at home and contribute from the safety of their home, because there's a myriad of problems that somebody on the autistic spectrum or with additional needs will encounter along going from to and from work. So we
Right.
mitigate those dangers. So what we created was New HD Radio. There's New HD New York, New HD LA, and then a side project called Venue, VNUE.
Okay.
New HD New York is based on 1027 WNEW, where rock lives. So now you have kids who are going New HD New York, where rock lives, and they're becoming disc jockeys. They become radio personalities.
That's awesome.
It flips the script, right?
That's amazing.
Well, thank you. And I think that there's synergy between both programs because they really have performing arts aspects to it,
Yes.
educational aspects to it. And for instance, we have two blind broadcasters.
Great.
One, the world famous Bobby Vinton,
Oh,
who was born blind and had various operations and lived a life of pain and isolation. And he was 44 when he came into my life. I call him one of my kids. And now he does Saturday morning, Saturday night, and Sunday evenings, 7 to midnight. And he spent his whole life, all he had was the radio. So for him, it was really easy to make the transition and do the very basics and become a disc jockey.
that's amazing.
Then there's Emily Payton, who produces her radio shows Saturday and Sundays on New HD on Backpack Studio. In other words, she produces a whole radio show on her iPhone and sends it to me via Dropbox, and it goes right into the automation. And this is like low cost, high tech, as I call it. So it's really well thought out and it's professional. And I would stack my radio station up against any in New York City because it's got that throwback concept of, if it's good music, we're going to play it.
Right.
We genre jump. We define what the rock and roll is. So
Right.
you're going to hear tracks, and we'll get to your new album that's coming out, which
Thank you.
leads us into this.
Right.
You'll hear tracks from Joy Oladokin,
Okay.
and if it makes sense, maybe some Broadway songs every now and then. In other words, if somebody has an interest in a particular type of genre, we'll make it work and we'll incorporate it into what we do. That's what it's about. I really want to create an inclusive environment where people can thrive and contribute and flip
I
the
love
script.
this idea because you're able to give people the comfort to be able to do this without having to go to a strange studio or feel awkward. They have it all right there in their place of living, and it's a different world now. To do that radio thing on her phone and then send it to you, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I look at it, what we do is to scale.
Yeah.
So I got a bunch of stuff I'll share with you after we get done with this. So
Okay.
talk about your new album, Beautiful Strange, which we're going to end up playing on New HD.
I
because
love it.
We brought it
Thank
up.
you. Yeah. We're getting close to doing a first release very soon. I've been working on it for about 5 years, and it really, during the pandemic, is when it really sort of came together because I had time. I was like, all right, I'm home. What am I going to do? When we were in lockdown, I thought, well, I got to stay creative. So I finished the album, and I'm very, very proud of it. And yeah, it's. I just had it mastered, and now we're getting ready for its release. There's a number of songs on there. One is that's on there. I lost my dad last year, so I wrote him one, and I added that on the record. And to any son that meets their father later in life, it's for those people. I didn't meet my dad really till I was 21, and I got to know him. Because I got to know him as an adult, I got to understand him in a different light than I would have if I knew him as a kid. So I was able to really learn about this guy, and he was wonderful and amazingly talented. I learned why some things that came naturally to me in a performance way because he was a musician and a performer. And I remember thinking, wow, where did all this stuff come from? How come I got this thing where I can stand in front of 100 people or 10,000 people and feel perfectly comfortable? I didn't understand why that was not. I know some people have stage fright, and or if they get on the microphone, they're intimidated, to talk. I didn't have any of that. I was like, boom! It was really easy, and I never understood that until I met my dad and I saw him do his thing, and I realized, wait a minute, that's where I got it from. He's like getting like 500 people to sit there and sing along with him, and the way he did it was brilliant. So that was something I learned later. So I wrote a song about that, about meeting my dad later in life, and then he passed, and he gave me some good words of wisdom before he went. And it was that was a wonderful song. It's called what the hell is it called? Oh, Better Late Than Never is what it's called. But
that's actually kind of funny, and yeah, it's the sense of humor, right?
Yes. Well, it was better late than never. I mean, I'm so glad that I got to know him later than not knowing him at all, because if I was really, my mom and him got divorced when I was 2 years old. And my mom brought me up. So when I met my dad, I was 21, and I just thought, okay, let me see what this guy's about, really, and integrity wise and standards and all that. I looked at everything, and we talked about the hard stuff. I had a lot of questions. We talked through it, and then I saw the good stuff. And I prefer to look at the good stuff.
I think that is a better way of looking at it. I think all of us in life, there's a couple things that we need to always be merciful and forgiving.
Yeah.
Those are the two.
Listen, we all make mistakes. We all make bad choices. We've all done stupid stuff, because that's what happens when you're young and you're stupid.
Oh my gosh, I would have such a conversation with myself right now. Like, I would probably beat myself up, like making sure.
Don't do it. Don't do it, man.
Like no, like Tony Stark, where he's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. To the Hulk, or like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
So you talk about your relationship with your dad and how you created art with it.
Yeah.
Better late than never. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So then I did that.
And it makes me follow-up question.
Yeah.
If you knew that you got all of that from your dad, what did you get from your mom? Because chances are mom is going to hear about this and she's going to do this. You couldn't talk about me, your mother.
My mom passed a while ago, but I will tell you, she never said a bad word about him. Number one. Number two, she did a lot. She worked really hard for us to make us safe and to keep us creative. And so my mom was really the heart. And my dad taught me more later about, because when I grew up, I realized I really didn't have much of a father figure guide. So and they don't give you a playbook, when you're, So there was a gentleman named Fred Ebb, who was a mentor of mine when I was younger, and took me under his wing. When I met him, I didn't know who he was, but I realized Fred Ebb was an amazing lyricist. I learned, he was a major theater writer. He wrote Cabaret in Chicago and The Act, Liza with a Z, The Rink. He wrote so many Broadway shows, major hits, and he was a brilliant lyricist. And he kind of took me under his wing when I was 15 and sort of set me up good there, because I didn't have any guidance that way. So I didn't know what choices you should make as a man or growing as a young man. And I could have gone the other direction, but I thank God I had some good people surrounding me. So I'll say this, my mom gave me the heart, my dad gave me the talent. That's it.
Bingo. And by the way, talent without heart and heart without talent, it just doesn't work.
That's
Yeah.
right, man. That's
It's
right.
like, it's sort of like the two become one.
Yeah.
So
They
think
have.
about that. Even though they live separate lives, the two became one anyway.
That's right, brother. You know what's
Yeah.
funny? I tell my students, I sometimes I teach master classes, and or when we're doing raising this money for the kids stuff, I'll go and talk to a class, and the first thing I ask is a kid will come in an interview, and I'll say, okay, do you love what you do? You love, how much do you love acting, or how much do you love being a musician, or how much do you love what you do? And they say, oh my God, I want to do this so bad. I said, will you starve for it? And they're like, yes, anything, we'll do it. Da, 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 da. I said, because if you don't love it, then don't do it. That's the truth. If you don't love it, don't do it. It's a waste of time. If you think you're just going to be a star and not have, and that's all you're going for is the fame and the glory of it, then don't do it, because it really has to come from your heart. Otherwise, it means nothing. That's it.
And on that note, I think it's a perfect time to end this segment, because you can't, there's no encore, there's no coda to
That was
you
it.
can't
That was
think
the
of it.
button.
Was it.
That was the button.
I- Donnie, how does someone follow you on social media?
Oh, okay. Well, my name is Donnie Kehr, and it's Donnie Kehr on Facebook. Donnie Kehr at Facebook, or Instagram, Donnie Kehr.
You figured out Instagram? Because I
I know.
haven't.
I just
Good for
just
you.
got I just got there. Listen, I'm really trying this new stuff, man. It's a different life, but it's I'm getting there. I'm getting familiar. I still don't have a TikTok, which I'm working on.
I'm not, no, I refuse. I'm not doing the TikTok, and
I
I'm not
got.
doing
You mean you're not
whatever
gonna
the
do the
hell
little
else.
dances and go with the thing? Come on.
No, I'm not doing it. Forget it. No, it's not happening. I got enough. I have enough passwords to try to remember. I don't need a. I don't need a. No.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you guys. So thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate it.
Well,
Nice talking.
Donnie, it's great to become instant friends. That's all I could say.
Pleasure. Right back.